Hello and welcome back to the Women's Eye Podcast. I'm Stacey Gualandi, your host. Thanks so much for joining me. Now, we are all about uplifting conversations with inspiring women who are making a difference in all aspects of life. And that includes my guest today, interior design architect Beth Campbell. She is the author of Lessons from the Valley, Personal Growth Through Life's Lessons. Now, it's so great to see you because we met at your book signing in Las Vegas. Beth,
Yes.
thanks for joining.
Thank you for having me. I'm super excited to be here and have a conversation with you today. And thank you so much for supporting and being at the book signing. It was kind of nerve-wracking walking into it, but boy, was that a fun event. There were
It
so
was
many
so
great people. It was a
It was
ball to
awesome. And the
ball.
fact, too, that you were the interior design architect for the guest house here in
Yeah, the
Las
guest house in
Vegas.
Las Vegas is we were party to that with a fantastic owner operator team. And that was just, I mean, I'm biased. I love the design, but it's one of my favorite venues in Vegas just
Oh,
because
it's
the
so
food, the service,
popular.
and everything. So
Yeah, it's fantastic. So I really appreciate because obviously, you made such an impression that we just had to have you here on
oh,
the
thank you.
show and
Thank you.
really to help us navigate all the peaks, valleys, and everything in between.
We all got them.
Yes, but first, this episode is brought to you by Casco Financial Group in Phoenix, Arizona. And Casco's president, Catherine Scrivano, started her business to help people create the financial strength to achieve their dreams. Now, here's a dream guest. Beth Campbell is an award-winning architect who owns the design company Campbell House. And in addition to the guest house restaurants, she has designed so many hotspots. She travels around the world, and she's currently working with Lisa Vanderpump herself on the new Vanderpump Hotel, soon to open in Las Vegas. Lessons from the Valley is her second book in a series. Beth has survived many valleys and has come out on the other side, a catalyst for change. So again, welcome to the show. Wow, I guess I should start by just asking you, what is your definition of valleys, of a valley? Is it always kind of a negative connotation or not so much?
Well, actually, yeah, typically when one finds himself in a valley, and that's just kind of, backing up a bit, the purpose of writing this second book is that realization that life is going to have valleys. And we all have a choice. You can curl up in the fetal position and wait for the storm to blow by, or you can kind of pick yourself up and figure out how to get refined and stronger and better to come out. And then in doing that, realizing and acknowledging that the next peak is going to be higher because of yourself, yourself, purpose and curating your character and being refined and growing as you go through that. But to me, a valley could be pretty much, there's so many different ways that they can come, right? And the fact is we all have them. So it could be just an obstacle that arises because you're challenging yourself to be better and it's an obstacle you didn't expect. It could be a setback. It could be actually the betrayal of a friend or a coworker or an entity. You can get betrayed, and we've all been there.
Yep.
And then, or the fun part is like, I just made a bad decision. Like simply, I've made poor decisions. I didn't think it through, didn't think of the consequences. And so then you end up in a valley. And so to me, that's what a valley really is. And some of them are super deep and dark and last 7 years. And some are, are blips and you can, you climb right back out. So they come in many shapes and forms and they're all super personal.
Oh, always, right?
Hmm.
No matter the degree. And I love one of the quotes you have in the book too, but I can't remember who, but it was like where the view is always kind of better from the valley than the peak. So I thought that was kind of an
Right.
interesting thought too. But okay, so you've gone through these experiences, these very personal valleys and back up and down again. But why write a book? Like, that's so generous of you to do that, to help all of us as we're dealing with our issues. But why put that in a book? And which also is a springboard off of your first book, which was
Yeah,
a
well, and
very
that
big
was
thing.
that's really where I started to be inspired by friends and my close circle group. So I had cancer, stage 3B, cervical cancer. So it was a 6 month process, 6 weeks of exploratory and figuring out everything. And I had the best care here, and it's an amazing Nevada Cancer Care Center. They're the best people I hope you never, ever have to meet. Except at maybe a cocktail party, but they were fantastic. But the point was is that I realized very quickly that you just get overwhelmed with these thoughts. They're negative thoughts, and you can get weighed down in that, and to the fact that it can consume you completely. And
Yeah.
so what I was able to realize that fairly quickly after being told of my diagnosis. And so inside of that, I created a pattern of behavior, willfully, around every morning. I would get up, I'd make my bed, I'd get showered and dressed as if I were going to work. And then I would sit outside and journal and meditate. And so
Wow.
inside of that journaling, I had my sister and one of my close friends, Denise. They saw my notes and they were like, "This is a book." And because I kept asking, "How can I help other people?" And so the first book became evident through that process. The second book there's actually three in the series. This is the second book, and it is a sister piece that is purely about how to help you get through the valleys. Because coming out of cancer, I realized that, like I said earlier, you can just kind of float through it, or you can actually actively work to be prepared for the next valley and then actually come out stronger and better on the other side and actually be able to curate what's next in your own peak.
Yeah, so it's almost like it's like you want to shout it from the rooftops. I learned this. I want to
Oh my
help.
gosh, I
I want to
did.
share this, right?
Right? And then put it together in such a way. I also think that, and I like this process, but I've gotten a lot of positivity from this, is that I write the way I think and talk, bite
Oh,
size. Like you don't have to read 60 pages to get the idea. It's 3 to 5 pages,
well,
and
and
then you
that's
can
what I
put the
liked
book
about it.
down and you can read it straight through, or you can start here and go there and go here. And so it's up to you. And so that's, I think, also is very helpful, just to kind of get to the point,
Yep, yep.
and
I
then
love that.
give the enough threads that you can string through to get the tapestry full by the end, to help, to figure out how
Yeah,
to
it's almost
best
like you
help
can
yourself.
read aloud some of the parts, and that it kind of sinks in even more too, because it is so succinct how you've set up the book, and
Yeah.
you've really structured it. So I can see why you're so very successful in your business. But it's a completely selfless thing that you did. But you said about like feedback. Has the feedback been really good, or what are you hearing from people who've read
I'm
your
getting
books?
incredible feedback. I can tell you my first book. Let's be very clear. I am no, J.K. Rowling's. I'm no David Sedaris. I'm not, I'm just an architect trying to build buildings and trying to, get through life and see how I can help other people, because that's what life is about, right? You
Yep.
get to a certain age and you're like, I want impact and influence, and how can I help others? And so the point is that I've heard some really good feedback. What's so intriguing to me is that people will grab me and be like, "Oh my gosh, this one point resonated so deeply with me." And I'm like, "Oh, say more, say more." And I ask questions, and we kind of unpack it together. And then just seeing what they interpreted the statement to be. A friend of mine, Terry Janison, she loved the part where I talk about people can attack your reputation, but they can never affect your character. Your character is you. You have
Yeah.
control of that. And so we talked about that. I had another friend, Cassie, we had dinner last week, and she was talking that she loves the idea. I think I called it like the grow through instead of go through, kind
Yeah.
of
Yeah. Right. Right.
meaning
Right.
learning from mistakes. So learning from your missteps to get better. And then that way, it's so anyway, so it's just pulling those pieces apart. And it's just,
You're
first of all, it makes me
finding out
feel good.
what's resonating, kind of,
It
right?
is,
Yeah.
but then it helps me to kind of rethink my own behavior, but then my writing. Like, what am I writing about, and how do things resonate? And it's always, every time, if I collect all the positive comments, it's always sound bites. It's never like, "Oh, I like these 4 chapters." It's like, "I like that sentence." Do you know what I mean? Which is fantastic.
Yeah.
So that makes me feel good.
Well, for me too, I think my takeaway, or the thing that really sits with, is all about mindset. That was the section that really, like, I keep kind
Right.
of rereading that too, because when you talked about how, we can go in this negative place, but we also can like create these scenarios that don't even exist, and
Mm-mm.
it's like you're like, "Oh, this person's thinking this of me," or whatever, and it's
Oh
so funny
yeah.
what our mind does.
Yeah, that negative kind of rabbit hole that our brains can pull us down into so quickly. And so that's what, in through this writing and through reading this book, it helps you to say, "Whoa, whoa, 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 okay, that's enough of that. Let's put that away. That was fun. Quit it. Now let's figure out what's really going on, and how
Gone.
can I get
Yeah.
better, and how can I control what I can control, which is me."
But yeah, right, exactly. And what I loved about this is that that you said you wrote the book at the in the Durango
At the
Resort and
Durango
Casino
stations.
coffee
Yeah. Well,
shop.
my mom was gambling or having lunch with her friend, her 86-year-old friends. So
Oh, that's so great.
but it's
Because
how life is, right? You take these moments, and I've gotten really good at it. I have a little kit for my writing. I have a book. I write by hand a lot. I type on my iPad. And so I have a little kit that anytime mom's like, let's go, I just grab it all and put it in the car because I never know
that's
where we're going to end up. So,
well, I
and then there's a
commend you
huge,
too because I have such a love-hate thing with writing, but to have that discipline to sit down and really construct a book, especially this is being number two in the series,
yeah,
in the series for you, or the
yeah,
book of three.
yeah.
But all right, so you're hearing a lot of feedback and what people, but was there a particular mission for you with writing this particular lessons from the valley? What was the main thing that you wanted to focus on?
The main thing is the main mission I wanted to portray and to give hope and clarity and confidence to the reader is that, Lessons from the Valley highlights that this is not about avoiding the valleys, right? This is instead about embracing them as part of our personal development, as part of our journey, because they're going to come. And quite
Yeah.
honestly, I know it sounds trite, but without the valleys, you don't understand how good the peaks are, right? You
Yeah. And
lose
if
the
you're not
climb.
learning from all of those
And if
growth,
you're not learning
yeah,
and you're
growth
just
spurts.
rolling along the bottom, you're just, and there's a better way in life because I've been in a valley personally for about 7 years now. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you just keep tumbling and you're just like, when's this going to stop? And so the
Oh,
point
yeah.
is you don't know when it's going to stop. So you have to find positivity in that. So to me, that's the mission, right? And to learn so people can learn resilience, adaptability, and the importance of perseverance.
Yeah. That's interesting that you say that you've been in this kind of valley for 7 years. Is it kind of obviously dealing with the health stuff too, but
Yes, that was in the
and then
middle.
also how that relates to, I mean, you're an entrepreneur,
Yeah,
is there a connection there that's
100% a connection.
okay.
Well, that's the thing is that, you know, Beth Campbell is an author. Beth Campbell's an architect. Beth Campbell's an entrepreneur. I'm also a board member. I'm also, a friend, a sister, of whatever else you want to, label.
Yeah, it's like
And so it's all tied to, it's all
all the
my
hats.
brand, right? It's the Beth Campbell brand. So no matter how you want to look at it, it's all woven together. So yeah, so for me, it started with career challenges and evolutions, and then the illness in the middle. So the illness in the middle made some of the career challenges. I'd launched my business in like what 15 months after I launched, I was told I had terminal cancer. So things went a little sideways with the company. Meaning, and so we're just dealing with navigating all of that. So
Wow.
we as the collective in Campbell House, our design firm. But then there's also, I have my board positions and I have philanthropic endeavors and things like that just haven't gone as I had planned. Um, However, I can tell you that I have learned a lot and I'm super excited, and filled with hope. And that, for the next, when I start back up that next hillside, right? Which
Yeah.
in my head, it's a green mesa above. It's not the mountaintop because you're never at the mountaintop. There's this beautiful, mesa waiting for me, and I can tell it's close. So, and that could
Wow.
be tomorrow, that could be in 18 months, but to me, in my heart, it's close. So I feel good
Yeah.
about that.
Well, and it just, I mean, it says something to me about you, the fighter,
Yeah,
I'm
perseverance.
gonna meeting these battles head on, and you're gonna come out on the other side. Because that's tough to hear a diagnosis
Yeah.
of
Well,
cancer in general, so that's
And
wow.
then cancer, getting that phone call, and it's exactly as they portray it in the movies. She said, you have cancer, it might be terminal. And she talked for like 12 minutes. I didn't hear a word she said.
Yeah,
It was like a foghorn. And I'm like, I'm sorry, what were you saying? In that 20 seconds between hello and you have 3 years to live, everything changes, right? And
yeah.
so and unfortunately it wasn't 4, it was just 3B. So here I am, cancer free.
Woohoo.
But it helped me to reprioritize, which is also one of the main topics in the book, right?
Yep.
It's prioritizing what's important. Like, do I really need to pursue that other contract, or should I go away and hang out with some friends in Alabama and go skeet shooting? Things like that. So and I know it's not that cut and dry, but being more savvy about prioritizing what's really important. Business will
Yep.
always be there. You'll always find another day, but you need to spend time with the people that you love and care about.
And being present,
And being
obviously.
present,
Yeah.
authentically present. That is so spot on. I love that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. That's,
Anyway,
I
so
mean,
it's
for
that.
sure.
And then also about prioritizing, like, don't fight a fight that's not on your doorstep. Don't fight something that isn't between you and your destiny, because we all do that. We all take up these crosses to bear that have nothing to do with us. And it can be just in our minds, like we were talking about, right?
Yeah.
Your brain gets going and it's like, whoa, 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 that's not real, Beth. Don't fight that fight.
Yeah, I
It's
know.
not
It's like
there.
kind
Yeah,
of
reel it back in. Let's take a beat. So,
yeah. With work and the industry that you're in, and when I first met you, it was so fascinating to hear like all these projects.
yeah.
Because what's interesting is you build buildings, but that's also applies to like rebuilding your life after all these valleys. I sense some sort of a metaphor perhaps, but
100%.
yeah. But has that been a challenge too? Or do you feel like you're in a man's world or a man's industry, or not at all?
Not really at this point. Right after university, which would have been in the early 90s, yeah, I had those issues on job sites. And like I worked for a firm that we designed schools, ground up buildings in Pennsylvania. And I'd go to the job site and the contractor would be like, "Oh, you're a teacher. You need to go to the other side." I'm like, "No, no, no, no. I'm the architect telling you what to do." But and they were very few and far between. It was just the time, right? So, but right now, not really. Actually, I think that I'm not saying it's a
You're
benefit.
established. Yeah, you don't need to
It's
deal with any of that
established in our
drama.
industry. I have, done work with the Crown Prince. He's very gracious to women. I have done, I've worked with, well, I didn't get to work directly with Macron, but had done some things in Europe and France. And so just working with I'm working with an
Wow.
ambassador right now to a country that I can't talk about because
Ooh,
we're under NDA and we haven't started the hotel design yet in his particular country. But anyway, so it's just, you get to work with these incredible people, and a lot of them are men, especially in these other, Western or European and Middle East countries, and they're fantastic. So very
that's great. And you've
gracious.
more than proven yourself, and you've certainly
Yeah.
earned
Yeah,
your place, and your work obviously
exactly.
shows for it too. So
Yes.
I just got thinking it'd be so fun to do like a Beth Campbell buildings crawl around the world. Anyway,
Oh my gosh, it'd be fun. We could do it around Vegas.
around Vegas. Speaking of, I mentioned Lisa Vanderpump. That's, I mean, obviously she's famous. Everyone knows the
Oh yeah.
famous Beverly Hills housewife, but how exciting is that? And what have you learned about working with her, and what has she learned from you? Because this is the first project you've worked together, right?
Well, it's the first project we worked together, and I want to be extremely clear. I am so fortunate to just be inside the orbit of that project, and it is Caesars Entertainment owns the property, and that's who I'm contracted with. So I am an affiliate as the architect working with Lisa, and Lisa is creative herself. She has a creative director. She is brilliant. The other point of clarification. I cannot tell any secrets of design.
I
I cannot
know.
tell any. I am not divulging. And the opening date is also something that will be a brand rollout kind of moment. But at the same
Yes,
time,
that will
I
be a
can
big
tell
moment.
you, it has
Mhm.
just been a fantastic experience. Miss Vanderpump is quite brilliant, as you've seen her on TV shows, and she was, a child star and all of those things. But her forte, honestly, she's great at that. She's better at business. Just watching her business mind, and then her
Wow.
creativity around understanding engagement, guest engagement from a restaurant to a pub to a hotel, and then knowing to bring it. Nick Lane is her creative director, and he's brilliant. He's in Miami. He has an entire shop there. They build a lot of the furniture and the pieces, and so it's this whole holistic approach to design
Yeah. And
solutions.
it's a big undertaking too, because you are all as a team revamping the entire
Yes,
hotel, which is currently the Cromwell, which is going to be the Vanderpump Hotel. So,
yes.
and your role in that is to
We're the architect of record. So we're the
gotcha.
architect. So basically it's keeping the train on the tracks. We are
Yeah,
I would say we're the arbitrators between Lisa Vanderpump's team and then the contractor.
gotcha.
And Caesars Entertainment Construction, Designing Construction are brilliant. Their brand team, their operations team, it's just security. It's your typical super complex casino renovation project, but
That's
it's really
amazing.
fun. So
Yeah, and just the fact too, I would call that a peak, so for sure. But in terms of um a lot of what you wrote in your book, you're still practicing what you preach, correct? I mean, this,
Yes.
and what do you like today? If you were to give me one, the most important lesson to start off, 2026, what do you think that would be?
That is a great question.
Because we're into the year already, but I just
Yeah,
wondering,
no, somebody said Happy New Year next Thursday. And I'm like, are you sure it's not March already? Because it is just boom, boom, boom. It is racing so fast. And we have
Yeah.
three massive projects, three hotel buildings in Saudi Arabia that we're going to issue on Monday. So they've already started
Woo!
construction. So that's where my brain is right now. So
Oh my gosh.
so we were talking, you and I talked when we were at my book signing and about embracing the valleys, right? And I just want to be
Yes.
very clear. I'm not Pollyanna. I'm not delusional, right? I'm simply grounded in a growth mindset, and that's where I live. And so inside of that thinking, I truly believe that we can train ourselves to become excited in the chaos, right? Again, I'm not delusional. There's days where I can't get up. You're sitting on the edge of your bed and you're like, I don't want to do this today, right? We all have that, right? It's not, so don't think that I'm like, well, all hopped up on go-go juice,
You're
but
realistic. Yeah.
right. But I feel that you can seek out and find new avenues for solutions for yourself, right? And inside that mindset, we actually get to define our own growth. And so here's an example today. And like I said, I'm in a valley and I start to come up and go back down and it's just kind of bouncing. I feel like I'm bouncing along the bottom. And so it's a little bit dark. It's a little damp in there. The little winds are swirling, it's that moment. And so, but what I did today, this is a testament to my mindset. I always say it's because of how my parents raised me, but I literally spent 45 minutes this morning. So you say you have trouble writing. I can sit and write. Like I can sit down on my, in the summer on my patio and it's 4 hours later and I'm sitting there writing and I'm like, oh, you have work to do. So anyways, but today I literally sat for 45 minutes and I was framing and making the guide rails of how I want to show up, how I want to behave, my patterns and my limits as I ascend to the next peak, because I know
Wow.
that it's coming. So like even in the dark times, and it just helps, and it's that forward thinking, and it's that like, okay, this is what I want. This is what I want to see happen, but how do I behave to get there? And so
Yeah.
that's what I literally did this morning for
That's
45 minutes.
amazing. That is
Yeah.
amazing. And I look at that and I go, oh,
Yeah.
because I'm in this procrastination thing. I don't know what that's all about, but unless it's just trying to protect myself from stress or something.
That's
But
literally what it is. It is
yeah,
self-protectionism in some way, and that's okay. You're allowed to
yeah,
have that. We all have those days. And it's just like, yep, not doing it. I'm going to sit and
yeah.
watch Law and Order for 3 hours, like whatever it is, right?
Exactly. But it's as I looked at the year ahead, I'm thinking like, okay, I might have to rethink some things. I love how you said, I wrote it down too, but you're really looking for uncertainty. Explain
Yeah.
that too, because yeah, I think uncertainty breeds like anxiety, but you're saying go to that.
Yeah, I went to go to there, as Tina Fey says.
Yeah.
So I really believe that certainty precludes us from like that true expanse of our own curiosity, right? So
Yes.
certainty
Okay.
precludes us from being curious. So when you have all the facts, you just kind of roll with it. And so what I'm saying is then you are right. Like uncertainty can be, unsettling. It can knock you off your feet. It can knock the anchor off. It can really push you around. And so, but if you can calm down and, by reading my book, hopefully you can learn that, like, first of all, understand who you are, right? Your perceptions of your relation and your relationship with yourself. And then it's knowing what your priorities are, what's your drivers, what's your values. And then it's also recognizing your limits. And as we discussed, limits can be real and they can be perceived. So knowing
Yeah.
what the limits are and then understanding it's a choice. So if you can start to get those things prepared before the valley comes, it helps, right? Or if you're in the valley, you just take a beat and start to figure some of that stuff out, right? You
Gotcha.
don't have to have all the answers, just enough to do like I did today. I spent 45 minutes. You could spend 5 minutes and saying, wait, this is where I really want to go. Or this is really what's happening. I have a fire hose and I'm trying to fight, a wildfire in Sonoma and I live in Las Vegas. Like, what good is that going to do me? Stop it. Put the fire hose down and get to work, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's those moments where you really just kind of stop and say, I have a choice in all of this. Let's take a breath. And then, how do you lean into that uncertainty? And all of a sudden, then the uncertainty, instead of being like knocking you off your feet. It's just kind of you're off balance for a minute, and then you
Yeah.
really get stabilized, and you get the run position, and then you go, right?
Yeah.
So that's what it's about.
That's it's
Evolution.
good. I also love too that this is sort of in what you're talking about and what you're what's offering is sort of this invitation to transformation, which I kind of
Yeah,
that's really
I
great.
like that.
I'm
I might
stealing
use
all
that.
your lines. Um,
Yeah.
but it is because we just have to sort of put off I don't know. We sort of have to take off all of our limitations that we put on ourselves, I guess.
Yeah.
I think that's part of
Which, if
it.
you think about it, it's kind of like noise, or it's maybe debris that's floating around, and you just kind of have to, push it away, right?
Yeah.
And then just enough, you don't have to get it to go away. It's like the concept of meditating. I have friends like, I can't meditate. My brain moves too fast. I'm like, so you're
But
saying
that's
my
the whole
brain is
point, right?
slow? Yeah, it's like, no, no,
You
no. No,
acknowledge
but
it and let it go.
wait a second. But like meditation and walking through these uncertain times are very similar in the regard that you just have to. And I love how I use Headspace, and how Headspace, they're like, just get up on the beach of the river and let the thoughts look like they're leaves just floating by, and
Yep.
just watch it go by. You don't have to, they're not going to stop, but nor do you have to like dive in and become a part of it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
So, and it's just taking those moments to allow you to truly be present, and then you realize you have choices. So it's learning to kind of stop and take a beat. All of us as humans, fight or flight, survival. But the
Yes.
fact is, there's a moment before that called pause, that all of us just race right through. Like, well, let's
Uh-huh.
go fight. Oh, let's go, let's run away. But if you stop and realize, then you can choose fight or flight better. So that's that concept. But
It's
I'm saying
giving that breath. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
that's right. And that's
And it's
true for
interesting
everything.
too, because what I learned, yeah, from your book as well, and maybe this is kind of too that you break down that sort of there's an emotional, there's physical, and then there's professional valleys too.
Yeah.
So not, I guess if they're all at once, that's a little tough, I suppose.
Yeah.
But
Well, sometimes that's how, the universe, God does it,
yeah,
not getting your attention, Beth, so I'm going to dump something else on you. So, and that's just it. But if you stop, and again, once you get past being hurt or upset or angry or whatever you might be, and say, okay, what am I supposed to learn in this moment? And
yeah,
I think I talk about it in my book, like, is this kind of like sanding off the edges with a little, 40 grit sandpaper, or am I using a chisel? Because I got to get serious character flaws that need to be, reconsidered. And so that's, you just have to look at it in all those ways. And then that way you can, find the positive in it, and pull yourself up and pull yourself out.
absolutely. One thing I love too is this was a quote, a friend of yours, Paul Cleary, said, Beth doesn't take no for an answer. So is
Yeah.
that something, do you think that is also kind of what helps with
I'd like to
your
clarify for Paul. Paul is a very good friend. He's the CEO of Momentum. I am on their board of directors, and he has been. I've known him for years, and our careers have overlapped quite a bit. And he's a friend, and a very incredible peer that I learned a lot from. I continue to learn a lot from. So, um, what I'd like to, in all seriousness, I really appreciate him saying that, because that is how I come across, right? For
It's a
good or
good
bad.
thing though, because it's kind of like, you know what, you don't want to be around people who are always like, no, you can't do that. No, no, no. You're always like, let's find a way. Yeah,
Well, that's
right?
what it is. When I
Yeah.
hear no, I hear you say, okay, it's not working that way. Go find another way, Beth. So I do.
Yeah.
There is no no. It's not possible the way we're talking about it, but there is a yes somewhere. Go find it. So that's how I operate, and particularly in business. And obviously Paul would think that, because my role as a board of director at Momentum Textiles is to talk about strategies and bigger developments, and where's the, global economic conditions, and you're always looking for bigger and
Yep.
yeses in other places. So
That's great. As I wind us down, unfortunately, I could talk to you about this for a long time, but
yes.
you're currently writing your third book, or you are done with the
Oh,
third
I'm
book.
not done. I had intended to be done. I am not done. I'm looking at the clock, meaning the calendar here.
Yeah. No
It's a it's
pressure.
a it's a work in progress. But yes, it's called Words to Live By. So it's also in the ilk of, building on the foundations that were laid in the first two books, and like Journey Through and Lessons from the Valley. But the main focus in this particular book is how our thought patterns actually shape the trajectory of our lives. And then
Oh,
actually the language that we use, catapults us in that direction. And so what I have done is I've taken And again, I mentioned David Sedaris earlier. I think he's a brilliant writer, and I am by no means as witty and comical as him, but it was the brevity and the lightness of his stories that I was drawn to. So what I have done is I've taken, again, bucketized 3 categories, 10 words in each category, and then I tell a personal anecdote
Yeah.
for each word. And so those anecdotes are anything from being like 7 years old in a snowsuit with all, the drunk uncles going to cut down Christmas trees, like to, a corporate boardroom saga that where I could, CEO, you can't, I was on a publicly traded company as CEO. Like I can't tell details, but I can tell, stories about the people. So anyway,
Right, right.
so you get all facets of my life to tell stories. My sister's a special ed teacher in her city schools, so I talk about her. And
Wow,
so anyway, so
that's
each of them tie to a word, and then I take the word and say, okay, how is that a core value and principle for me, and how do I apply it in my walk today? And then like my first 2 books, I actually give a section for you to kind of just journal your notes.
I didn't mention that, but yes, that's what's great because you can literally read and then write stuff down right as you're going. Yeah.
Yeah, that was the intention there. It's basically a guided journal, my first 2 books. So this is the third one, and it's all the same things, looking at, we all have moments happy about, we all have situations, but we also, all of us long to be something bigger than ourselves. All of us know at our core that we're part of something bigger and we have more to accomplish. That's why we're here on this
Yep.
earth. So this is just kind of helping you to take a beat, frame that up. And like my 30 words in this book, you might look at them and go, those are ludicrous. Why would she use those words? But that's not the point. Go find
Right.
your own 5 words, your own 30 words, whatever it is. And so,
Yes.
so anyway, so that's how I write. And that's my intention, is just to kind of take a breath, become your authentic self, be present, and chart your own path.
Those are all really good pieces of advice. And also, go buy the book.
Yes.
That's
And go buy the book.
I'm
I
adding
always
to
forget
that
that.
list.
And
So
go buy the book. Yes.
exactly. But fantastic. So I don't know. It's that whole thing. I don't know how you do it all, but you do.
We do. We all find a way.
We all find a way. So, well, I just have to thank you so much, Beth Campbell, for joining me today. It's fantastic. I knew it was going to be fun.
Thank you. It was
Yes, to
great.
know more about you, Beth, and your book, Lessons from the Valley, you can just visit thewomenseye.com. And of course, while on the site, you can check out our other books. 20 Women Changemakers. Just go wherever you buy books and changemakersbook.com, and 20 Women Storytellers at womenstorytellersbook.com. So lots of fun reads, but you'll find us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Be sure to subscribe to our newsletter and YouTube channel. Don't be shy. Again, thank you so much, Beth, for joining me. I can't wait to see you out and about, and I'll see you at the opening of the Vanderpump Hotel.
Absolutely. And a day yet to be determined. So yeah, yes, thank you so much for having me. You're so gracious, and this was awesome. And I hope the
Oh,
message is well received.
well, thank you for doing this for all of us who need the assist. So
We all need the assist. We are not alone.
no, that's so true. Well, just meet us back here again soon on the Women's Eye podcast. I'm Stacey Gualandi. Remember, it's the world as we see it.